I am a principal with Zinc Financial. Zinc Financial is one of the largest rehab lenders in the state of California. We're private money. We are a direct lender. We are not a broker. In other words, we're licensed by the Department of Corporations as a lender. We hold the same licensing as Bank of America or Wells Fargo. The only difference between us and Wells Fargo is that we work with private equity, our own capital, which means we typically fund deals in 7 to 10 days. We do not take very risk like Wells Fargo, and we do not have the severe restrictions that Wells Fargo has or Bank of America. There's 3 divisions to our company. Our largest division is actually auto. We do private money auto lending throughout the state of California. That's not why we're here today. A second division is called Zinc Realty. We buy distressed assets, we rehab those distressed assets, and then we sell them to the public. We do a property about every 72 hours in the state of California. We're very active in that market. So our company has a lot of exposure and a lot of experience with buying properties, rehabbing properties, reselling properties. We've done in the neighborhoods in the last couple of years between 50 and 100 million in our own product that we've bought and resold. We're also a lender, which is why some of you are here. We are a lender for operators, real estate investors who buy properties, fix them up, and then resell them. We're also a lender for investors who buy properties and want to hold them and rent them, and then hold them for cash flow opportunities. So that's a little bit of what we do. I've got about 30 slides here. I'm going to show you what we do and what other lenders like us do in this space, so that you have some background on what lenders are looking for, such as Zinc Financial. Okay, as I said, we're one of the largest rehab lenders in the state. We're a true lender. We're not a broker. A lot of people claim they're lenders. On the internet, you call them, we're a lender. You find out that they're really not a lender. They're a broker that then submits it to a company like us. It would be very, very dangerous. And the reason for that is that person does not have any control over the funds or the ability to send wires. And what happens is not a week goes by that I don't get a call from a panicked investor that plays $10,000 or $15,000 down as non-refundable on a property. And then they find out that the person, the lender that they had sent that to, is not really a lender, and they can't fund it because they don't have the ability to fund and pull the wire trigger. So they come to us looking for that to be done in 2 or 3 days, and usually we cannot get it done. They lose their deposit. Very important to work with a true direct lender that has the ability to send wires themselves. One of the largest direct rehabbers, $50 million plus. We've done over $100 million in the last couple of years in fix and flip loans. We're also a fully licensed contractor. Emphasis on rehab. So we're not only a real estate broker, we're not only a lender, but we're also a contractor. A lot of experience in this space. Okay, so the topics I'm going to cover today is what is investor rehab lending, what is buy and hold lending, the industry outlook, borrower and collateral qualifications, our underwriting, collateral underwriting, servicing, some portfolio analytics, and how we can help you if we can't help you. Okay, what is investor rehab lending? Well, it's simply this. It's short-term lending for distressed assets. Distressed assets that do not fit conventional lending guidelines. What does that mean? See it all day long. Broken windows, self-enclosures on pool gates that work, unpermitted garages, REOs, foreclosure, fire damage, water damage, dated properties. We have a property right now in San Rafael. It's a probate situation. They moved in 1955. I don't think they've done anything since then. Extremely dated. It's just simply not up to code. That cannot be sold to a conventional lender. Wells Fargo would never finance that property. There's simply too many things that are wrong that are not up to code. So somebody's going to pay cash for that property, use a lender like us. Again, it's a distressed property, not distressed people. Very important. Rehab lending is for distressed assets, not distressed borrowers, and it is not full construction. We do not do full construction. Our competitors also in the state do not do full construction either. These are some actual examples of some properties that we've done recently. A little hard to see with the light here. And if I could, I'd like to close this just slightly a little bit. Yeah, that helps out a lot. There's a before picture and an after picture. You can see the pool. We run into this all the time. Green pools, half drain, mosquitoes, just nasty stuff. You can see they tore down the patio roof there, and this is the after picture. This property was done in about 4 or 5 weeks. By the way, that's blue paint, not a new pool. $75 a gallon. Leslie's home looks like a new pool. There's a before and after picture as well. Another kitchen. This is the kitchen before, this is the kitchen after, this is the backyard before. This is very, very common. This is not the worst of the worst, this is very, very common. People leave their junk all over the house, they leave mattresses, they leave beds, they leave kitchen, they leave the chili that they were cooking the night before, and they leave them in just horrible condition. This cannot be financed by a conventional lender. And there's the after picture. Okay, what is that's fix and flip. What is investor buy and hold? Sure, long-time rental financing for single-family residents, 1 to 4 units. We typically do not get into the large multifamily, 10, 20 units. We typically stay away from that. I used to do that myself, quite frankly, back in the 90s. Very, very difficult. You have to be really skilled, a lot of capital, a lot of backing. What's really great for the entry or moderate level investor is probably single family residence, 1 to 4 units. Easy to manage, weekends, nights, you don't need a professional management company, you can do it yourself. Rehab or rental quality, okay, it's got to be up to rental quality standards. You know, you can buy the faucets at the Home Depot for $10. You can get those globe lights at Home Depot. We buy them in packages of 12 for about $6.99 a piece. So just simple rental quality. A 1.25 debt coverage ratio, that's very important for rental properties. Everybody here know what a debt coverage ratio is? Yes, no? So debt coverage ratio is simply this. If the property is bringing in $1,000 a month, we want to at least have a 25% cushion above that. I'm sorry, a 25% cushion above that for the payment to be made. So the maximum payment we would want to see on a $1,000 gross rent would be after expenses. So $1,000 after expenses might bring you to $800. That $800 between the payment needs to be a 25% cushion. So again, $1,000 gross, maybe you have $100 in expense, you're at $900, take 25% off that, that's the most your payment should be. There always wants to be a cushion to make sure that the property is cash flowing for you. 1.25 is about the minimum you want to go. A solid cap rate, usually a 10 plus. Entry to moderate level housing, no high end. Most rental finance companies like us, we would not be interested in doing a $400,000 house in an area where the rents are $1,200. That does not make economic sense. You're going to be frustrated in 6 to 7 months, and so are we, quite frankly. My family, I should say my in-laws and my extended family, quite frankly, manages about 1,000 rental properties just in the South California region. We own about 200 rentals ourselves. Those rentals, they all look the same. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $130,000. There's nothing much more than that. There's nothing much less. It's much less than that. It's a junk property. It's much more than that. It's not a good rental. So 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, good, stable, entry-level blue-collar neighborhoods. Moderate housing. And they have to be positive cash flow. All of our loan programs must have skin in the game by the investor. We do not do 100% financing. Most of our competitors do not do 100% financing. These are some buy and hold examples. If you look at them, you can see that they're moderately priced housing. Typically 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. This is very similar to what our family manages, about 700 of those, and we own about 200. Very simple yard, stay away from pools, simple, good neighborhoods, churches and schools nearby. Buy and hold industry outlook. Well, it's great. The cost for older product is less than replacement cost, so you can still find really good deals out there. Rehab materials have come down significantly. Okay, prices for those dome lights at Home Depot are now $7 a piece. I mean, 10 years ago they were $20 a piece. You can buy thermostats for $8 right now. I can get the thing that shoots off the fire alarms for $5 in packs of 12 at Home Depot. 10 years ago, those things were $10 and $15. So granite is now the price of a tile countertop. We put granite in everything. Entry-level housing below the median cost is very much in high demand. Huge demand for rental housing, entry-level below the median cost of housing in a specific area is still in very high demand. A lot of people are outplaced by foreclosures, short sales, and a variety of mechanisms out there. So there's a demand there. Average profits can exceed 7 to 15% cash on cash. 30 to 50%. That's for rehab. Okay. Rental housing 7 to 15%. I think our family does about 8 to 9% on average on the 700 homes that we manage for rental housing. Our internal on the $50 million that we have fixed and flipped ourselves, not counting our lending. Our average cash on cash is about 12%. And our annualized return on investment is between, depending on which year, 32 to 36%. So we do very good on our in-house fix and flip, and we do very good on our rentals. This is first-hand knowledge, folks. Borrower qualifications. Number one, skin in the game. Boy, all those phone calls that come in every day, they think they found the deal of a lifetime, but they don't have any money, we just can't help them. We look for a minimum of 15 to 20% skin in the game. Hard cash, maybe gold. That's about it. Exposure to the industry. Exposure. I didn't say experience, I said exposure. So when people call us and they have zero exposure to the industry. That's a very hard deal to get done. And they were in the restaurant industry, maybe managed a restaurant, and now they want to try this. Very, very difficult for us. We look for cash and skin in the game, some exposure. They don't have to have direct experience. But if maybe they were a contractor or a real estate agent, or they have a couple rentals or whatever, some type of exposure, business experience in the industry is really important to us. Liquidity, cash reserves, they need to have some liquidity. If you're going to buy a rental or a fix and flip, and you're going to put down 15 to 20%, there's still going to be some liquidity above that. Otherwise, we put the borrower in trouble. If they have $25,000 in their bank account and we're taking $24,800, gives them $200. They have no operating capital. We need to see some liquidity. Credit. We're big on credit. We're not a distressed borrower legal entity. Again, we fund in 7 to 10 days for buy and hold as well as fix and flip. Credit, what do we look at? We look at the trade lines. If somebody has a foreclosure, very important. They have a foreclosure, they have a short sale, we're actually okay with that. To be very clear, we're okay with that. It's when they have a patternistic problem of 30 charge-offs from Macy's and DirecTV and Comcast, that creates a problem for us. Because now we view that person as more of a walking argument, not necessarily somebody that had a problem in 07 and they've now fixed that problem. So we don't look at the FICO. We do a lot of 560 FICOs, 580 FICOs. That's subprime. Well, but they had 2 short sales in 07, 08, but they paid all the rest of the remaining bills. That's a good person. That's a great real estate investor for us. Exit strategy, we always want the person to have a solid exit. Hey, what are you going to do with the property? Are you going to fix it and flip it and sell it like us? Or are you going to rent it and hold it? You got to tell us what you're doing. I don't know. That's not a good answer. Non-owner occupied only. We do not do consumer loans, no primary residence, only investment properties. Monthly payments are required. You notice I have that icon up on no jerks. So it's interesting that some of the borrowers that quite frankly become very boisterous over the phone, that really doesn't work for us. We're here to be your partner, we're here to be your friend, we're here to help you, we're here to consult with you. But if there's any type of antagonistic relationship, we usually cut the rope pretty quickly. This is our capital that we're placing with these investors. If it doesn't work for you, there's going to be elevated tempers, we're out really, really quickly. Okay, collateral qualifications. What do we look for? Simple, easy collateral. Very important. We like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Very simple stuff. Asset value under the median. The median. Median is what half the property sold in an area or above and half the properties in an area sold below. Central Valley happens to be about 280,000. Down here in Santa Barbara, gosh, it's probably 500,000 or 600,000. Orange County is probably 500,000. San Francisco might be 800,000. Whatever. We do lending in Arizona. It's probably quite a bit less. So we want to stay below the median cost of housing for a specific area. Fixing and flipping or rental properties that are above the median can become very, very difficult. We learned that. Exit strategy, we talked about it though. Are you going to sell it? Are you going to make some money? Or are you going to rent it out? Schedule of repairs. That's a really important topic. Whenever we buy a property, we do one every 72 hours. We always have a schedule of repairs that we stick on our properties. Quite frankly, typically ranges 10 to 30% of the purchase price. And when investors come to us and they want to borrow money for a fix and flip, we look for that same amount. Very important. I've learned a lot of lessons in this, and we've had some defaults as a result of this. So let me explain to you why. 10 to 30% is the cushion. If it's under 10%, that means all they're doing is painting it or carpet. You cannot buy properties, okay? I'm a principal with this company. You cannot buy properties and paint it and put carpet in and somehow turn that thing in 30 days and make enough money to pay our fee, our interest, title escrow, real estate commissions, and a variety of other things. There's not enough profit typically. It's very hard. If that property, all it needed was paint and carpet, it's going to sell close to retail. So you're not doing enough to the property to create value. It's really simple. You're not doing enough, and you just can't get a good enough deal on those types of properties that need minimal. Any police officer or nurse is going to buy that property, spend 1 weekend paint carpet, and then they're going to have a consumer residence. So those properties that you do very little to simply do not create enough value. So that's always a red flag for us if it's too little, which is under 10%. Above 30% is also a huge red flag. I had a conference call yesterday for an hour with a borrower that's in severe trouble in Los Angeles. I told them when they did this loan I was not on board with doing this loan. They're a repeat borrower that did 10 deals with us. I will do it because of your history with zinc. However, this is not a good deal. You're sticking $120,000 rehab into a property that you bought for $280,000. Okay, they're now in trouble. The problem is it's way beyond 30%. They're doing foundation, they're doing framing, they're doing room additions, on and on and on and on. When you stick that much into a property, it's very hard to get that value back out. When we go into a property, we stick 25 grand into every property. We do all new cabinets, we do new granite, we do new stainless steel double sink for $47 at Home Depot, okay? We do all new lighting, we all do plumbing, we do $79 toilets from Home Depot, okay? All new tile, paint, carpet, $1,500 in landscaping, one tree in the front, lipstick on the front, now it goes to the MLS market. It's very, very, very simple, but it's all cosmetic, okay? It's 25 grand all cosmetic. And we're gonna get into framing, and we're gonna get into roofing, that will not bring value. And that customer walks up, they don't stand there and say, I love the new cabinets and granite counter, but I'm really impressed it has a $9,000 new roof on it. They don't do that. The roof is just kind of expected. So they get wowed by the granite and counters, but they don't get wowed by a roof. So you spend too much, you're sticking too much into the property. Okay, so scheduled repairs, we look for 10 to 30%, not too little, because you're not doing enough to create value, and not too much because you're over improving the property for the area. You're not going to get your money back out, which is what I have in Los Angeles right now. I'm trying to help them with that. Location, location, location. My big rule, curbs and gutters. If I can see curbs and gutters on a school line nearby, I'm all over it. If it's out in the desert, it's out in the mountains, it's got a bunch of pine trees around it, we don't do that. That is not, 85% of our community out there will buy something with curbs and gutters in school nearby. 10% is going to buy something in the mountain, in the desert. I got a property in yesterday. It's in the middle of a big sand area, okay, somewhere I think out by Hemet. And that's not a good property for us because a lot of people will not buy that. So we look for curbs, gutters, and schools and churches. Timeline, 75-day rehab rider. You know, if you can't be in and out of your property in 75 days rehabbing it, there's another problem. Okay, your construction is too severe, it's too overcomplicated, you're into permits, problem. Rehab, the best money to make, ladies and gentlemen, is in rehabbing properties. Properties you can get in, you can spend 25 grand, put all cosmetic features in, it's all easy stuff you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's, and you're out. Okay? That's where you make your money. Do it all the time. We do first trust deeds only, we do not do second trust deeds. It's our appraiser that will appraise the property. Builder's risk insurance is mandatory. Boy, I argue with borrowers all the time. Builder's risk is 30 to 50% more than a typical insurance policy. So borrowers don't like that. They bought a homeowner's policy. The problem, big issue. Homeowner's policy does not cover vacancy, does not cover material theft, does not cover vandalism, okay? It does not cover liability by contractors or handyman you had on the job, a whole stuffer of things. So if you buy a homeowner's policy and that property is vacant, and you've got handyman crews in there, they're going to deny any claim you have. I had a house 6 months ago that miswired in the attic, caused a fire, $100,000 in damages. Thank God we required builder's risk insurance. That house was vacant. It had recently been rehabbed. A primary homeowner's residential policy would not have covered that, would have denied it. What would have happened? We've had 4 claims in about the last 6 years, all have had builder's risk insurance. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's 30 to 50% more. You've got to have that. If you're not going to pay for the right insurance, then just not even get it. Because you're at risk anyway. They're going to deny the claim when it comes through. Okay, our borrower underwriting, we look for an initial application, which is a commercial business purpose application. It's not a 1003 residential. Letter of experience, we like to know people have some experience or some exposure in this industry. We like to see some liquidity. We look at the credit, talked about that a little bit earlier. Not the FICO score, but the credit. We do a borrower interview to make sure that they understand what they're getting into, that they're on solid ground, etc. Fraud, we're really big on this. We're a direct lender. We have direct access to the Social Security Administration. We have direct access to the IRS. We have direct access to federal and state searches, so we do background checks on our borrowers to make sure there's no fraud. Borrower pitfalls, no skin. Our conversation is 2 minutes to the people who call with a great deal, but they have no money, no liquidity, no experience. We just, unfortunately for us, we can't work with zero money people. Capitalized interest or points, never, that has to be paid along the way. Source of funds, we look at that. We like to see the borrower or the investor putting in their own money, okay, typically. Math and organizational skills, we like people that are organized, understand spreadsheets and math and budgets for rehab and things of that nature. They understand what they're doing. We ask for a budget of what you're going to do. And it's nice when the total at the bottom actually equals all the amounts at the top, which you put for tile. Lack of exposure. This is a huge thing for us. No books, CDs, or bus trips. But when I was telling those guys comes to town with balloons and the confetti and does one of those big seminars. You know, we're the real direct lender. We're the real people really doing this. We're not a big fan of books, CDs, and bus tours. Exorbitantly expensive. They typically teach you very little in 3 days, and you have little or no experience, and you've wasted your down payment money. I'm not a fan of those marketing, companies that do that kind of stuff. Our phone starts ringing Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Oh, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. They all took the bus tour or the CD. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Confetti and balloons, They flip so many properties a year, et cetera, but they really don't. Actually, no one of them personally, I will not mention the name, I know one of them personally, they don't do it. It's all of their income comes from the bus tours. But at any rate, we're not a big fan of that. We would rather have somebody with some hard-earned money to put down that has maybe some exposure to this and work with that individual. Over or under improving, I talked about that. Remember? You can't paint carpet and sell it and make money. That doesn't work. You also can't over improve it like my borrowers in LA right now that are underwater. Fund control, if we finance any of the rehab portion, we finance up to 70% of the rehab. Okay, so if your budget's $40,000, we'll give you $30,000, but all that money goes to a fund control. It's released upon inspections and photographs and the work being completed. Okay, we pay for hard costs, not soft costs. What do I mean? Hard costs are physical components actually attached to the property. We do not pay for supervision, overhead, fuel, things like that. Okay? All right, collateral pitfalls or underwriting. We look for as-is and ARV with the schedule of work. Okay, we do this in-house too. We do it all day long. What's the as-is value? You know, we'll go up to 80% of the as-is or the purchase price, not to exceed 65% of the ARV. Okay, what do I mean by that? Because that was kind of quick. If you buy a house for $100, we'll give you $80,000. But that house needs to be worth, when you're done, at least $140. So in other words, we're going to end up to 65% of the after repair value, okay, and 80% of the purchase price. So if you bought it for $100, you think it's going to be worth $140 or $150, that's great. We'll give you $80,000 for that. Okay. We look at absorption rates for the area. That's good urban settings where real estate's turning. Again, no rural, no farm, no horse ranches, stuff like that. This sits for a long time. Seller unrelated third party. We do not do any transactions where you bought it from your brother or your mom or your sister's aunt. Fund control. It's above $35,000. We send it to improvements to fund control. They release it when the work's done. Builder's risk insurance. I talked about that. Gold Alta. Pest certification. If there's any remote chance of termite damage, you want to make sure you check that out. Collateral pitfalls, type of asset, very important. Stick with single-family residence, 1 to 4 units. If it's above that, very, very difficult to sell. Well, you buy a 5-unit, okay, the only 5, you cannot get government financing on 5 units. Very, 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 very difficult. So it's got to go to a conventional source like Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They're going to require a lot down in today's market. See, a single-family residence, 1 to 4 unit, can still get government financing with a little amount down, so long as there's a primary occupant somewhere in that property. So you want to stay to stuff that you know that you can get rid of if you have to. The single-family residence, 1 to 4 units, is always, I can always get rid of that. 5 units and above, or in commercial financing, very difficult. As is versus ARV, we like to see the as is value, and then we like to see the ARV value. After repaired value is ARV. Location, 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 curves and gutters. You heard me talk about that. Urban settings, Sacramento, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara. You know, small remote towns out in the middle of nowhere are no-no. Permit issues, stay away from that. Title search violations, zoning, use, things like that, you want to stay away from that. Work in progress, very important, very important. Do not start work on the property before you get the lender. Don't do that anywhere. Bank of America, Wells, or even us. We cannot loan on that property. Once work is started, I don't know if you guys know this, mechanics liens has priority. That's it, we're out. You can't do it. Very, very difficult. Do not ever start that property. If somebody sees work on that property, no lender can touch it because they now have seniority, the subcontractors. Servicing, just so you know, Zinc Financial, we fund all of our in-house with our own money. Very rare. I can only think of 3 or 4 lenders in the entire state that actually fund with their own money in-house in 7 to 10 days. Most of the other, you know, I was at the CMA, California Mortgage Association for Lenders up in Sacramento, speaking there. There's 450 people there. I asked how many raised their hand, how many actually lent their own money. 2. The other 98% broker the loans out. That's okay, but you have to understand, we put down a non-refundable deposit, you have approval from that broker. It's not him that's pulling the trigger, he's got to get somebody else to pull the trigger. So you got one level removed, very, very important. We service all of our own loans in-house, we service all of our own properties in-house. We're big on customer service. Boy, I teach our staff all day long. Professionalism, professionalism, we're here to work with our borrowers and help them. Always maintain professionalism. Insurance, builder's risk only. We do not accept primary homeownership. Rehab management, control, in-house. If it's under 35 grand, we'll go ahead and do it in-house to save the money. If it's above 35,000, then we're going to outsource it to a control fund. Inspections for work in progress. Control fund or us. We'll go out and take photographs, make sure the stoves are actually in the property, not installed. If you're requesting reimbursement from the control fund or the rehab, make sure that work was actually done. Maturity, we send out our own notices 90 days before the loan matures to let you know that, hey, this is coming to maturity, hope you're winding up, the property sold. Accountability. Boy, we have a default rate rider in our deed of trust. If you default with us, and it really only happens one way, There's a default interest rate, there's additional fees, we'll assign it to the trustee, $7,500 charge, collateral inspection amount, very, very brutal. I will tell you it's brutal. How does that happen? When the borrower starts to not communicate with us. When they don't, if they have a little bit of a problem communicating with us, we're great. We're here to help you with the problems. If they don't communicate, and we hear crickets, okay, we move pretty quickly on taking control. Yes, did you have a question?
No, you're doing fine. I'm just trying to get Zach over here. Thank you.
Rehab control fund, if we finance any of the rehab amount, say you're going to stick in 30 grand, we're going to put up 20, you're going to put up 10, great, it goes to a third party, there's a budget, there's a draw schedule. You know, when you're done with draw number 1, okay, third of the work is done, you call the control fund, they show up, they do a little narrative, they take some photographs, we release the funds, that's it. So long as there's paid receipts, canceled checks, photographs to prove that the work was actually completed. All right? If there's any general contractor on the job doing the work, there'd have to be a lien released by the general contractor. I'm going to go through some really quick portfolio analytics. We are our own lenders. We have some portfolio analytics, rather interesting here. Our average loan life is 6 months. Our average investor buys a property, rehabs it, and sells it, and has made their money in about 6.21 months. So, our average loan is 65% of what the property ends up selling for, which means, now the borrower has 20% in the deal, which means there was still an elevated amount for profit. Our average, very rarely does one of our investors actually lose money. Some are neutral, okay, 85% turn into profitability. And our loan amount ends up being about 65% of actually what the property sells for. Investor capital contribution. All of our investors must have skin in the game. It's red up there, okay? Our average investor puts in about 20%. There are some cases of 50, there are some cases of 30. It's a little bit more dicier transaction. It's about the loan amount, this is the average investor capital contribution. These are actual transactions in the last 3 weeks. We just pulled these and updated them yesterday. These are actual true transactions. This investor bought this property. There's the before, here's the after. The lawn was green, they took out some junk, got rid of the chairs, cleaned up on the outside. The inside, that's probably what, from the 40s and 50s. And this is the after. This guy does the same thing that we do. You can't see, this guy does the same thing that we do. We buy these cabinets, they're cherry wood, they're actually from China, they come in through a truck down in Los Angeles. They're cheaper than all get out, but they look fantastic. They actually look pretty good. They're half the price of Home Depot. Here's our granite. There's 2 types of granites that are in substantial oversupply. You can get it for half the price of the other granite. That's this granite right here. This sink is $47 from Home Depot. Our appliances are called clean steel appliances. Anybody here ever hear clean steel? Okay, it's actually fake stainless steel. So we don't buy stainless steel. We buy clean steel. It's fake. It's not real. Okay? Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? Look, we're rehabbing 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, entry-level housing. So this investor, this is what our houses look like. Same cabinets, same clean steel, same double stainless steel sink. And doesn't that look nicer than this junk over here? This property just happened in the last 3 weeks. He bought it for $162,000. He put $19,500 into the property. It's about $14,200 in closing costs when we bought it, closing costs when we sell, our fee, and then our interest. Sales price, we sold it for $287,500, I think 3 days ago. The timeline was 4 months. He put down $35,535, okay, and he made $91,721. This is, I chose this one because it's the most recent one that it closed with our company. This is, I want to be clear, after my assistant did all the slide, this was not done on purpose. This is a little bit abnormal. Our average investor does not make $91,000. Yeah. Okay? So I did not do this intentionally to try to mislead you. This is abnormal, but it was one that just closed, and I told her to go pull the pictures and stick it all together, and then I got it. Well, it's a little bit misleading, you know, but it is true. But that's not normal. Our average investor probably makes between 25 and 50 on an average flip. Okay?
Where was that property?
Linwood, California. Just sold 3 days ago. Notice I said stay to the basics? Basics. No roofing, okay? No pool work, no fence, no room additions, all right? Gets in, you do the whole inside. You want to stay outside the walls. You don't have any permit issues. Stay outside the walls. Once you enter the wall, then you're going to permits and other problems, okay? I don't want to permit. Full permit, I'm going to be stuck for 3 months. Wait for that guy to show up, okay? Stick with the simple stuff that's not permittable. This is the second one. This was done 3 weeks ago. This was Sacramento. This is the before picture. This is the after picture. You can see I added a little bit of front, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm a big fan of no additions. But this investor went and did that. He's there. You know, our green grass, it's really funny. We do our landscaping in one day. We show up with sod, we roll it out, we put in the new tree, we put in the plants, 4 cubic yards of bark, 2 flats of flowers, and then we snap pictures and there we go. It's all done in one day. Okay? So this is the before, this is the after. Look at that restroom. Very dated, very old, and here's the restroom after. Okay? These tiles, 97 cents a foot at Home Depot in Lowe's, 97 cents a square foot. The tile in here is extra, but there's not $100 a tile. Okay? These tubs are $100, these toilets are $97. These you can buy a package of 4. You get the towel rack, you get the toilet paper, you get, what are the other 2? You get 2 other things, they're $14.97 for the pack of 4. You pound them on and you're done. These little vanities are pre-done at Home Depot. You guys ever seen them? $247. You do a $68 meter, you stick it up there, you're done. We stage all of our properties. This is not ours, this is an investor. We stage all of our properties. For $400, we stage them, have them professionally photographed before they go into the MLS. Big important thing. This guy bought this property for $135 in Sacramento. He spent $42,800. Okay, a little bit more, $43,000. I normally would have spent $20 to $25 on this. Well, he's about 10 or 15 more than what I would have spent, but he added that front on. Why? I don't know. Not what I would have done, but that's his choice. He's the investor, we're the lender. His carrying closing cost and others was $27,300. He sold it for $249 just in the last 30 days. His time frame was 7 months, a little bit longer. Okay, and the other guy, well, what he added on the front. Again, I'm not really sure why he did that, but whatever. He put down $35,000. He made $43,000. This is more normal. Notice the Sacramento. Notice the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Notice the 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Notice it's very simple what we do. Okay, these are the investors we look for. How can we help you? I'll tell you how we can help you, if we can help you. We have a deal analyzer at zincfinancial.net. This thing gets used about 150, 200 times per month. You can email every time somebody logs on. If you go to the deal analyzer, you put in your purchase price, your rehab amount, I think a few other things. And then hit calculate. It will. We actually program this ourselves. It's extremely actual. We'll calculate all of your costs, including your buying costs with your real estate agent, your selling costs, your hold time, your interest rates, your closing fees, your average ALTA policies, $550. It will calculate that, and it will show you your net profit and ROI at the end of the deal. So with about 5 entries at the deal analyzer, you can quickly tell if this is a deal you want to do or not. What does Zinc do? It's real simple. I'm a principal with the company. We're one of the largest rehab buy and hold lenders in the state of California. Our fix and flip loans are funded by ourselves in 7 to 10 days. It's a 9-month note. Our rates start at 11.5%. Our fees start at 2.5 points. We're up to 85% of the purchase. And if you want the rehab financing, which you don't have to do, we do up to 70% of the rehab amount. Okay? That makes sense with the $35,000 Sacramento deal. Our buy and holds, fund. Takes a little bit longer to buy and holds. You know, as low as 30 days. We'll do 5-year notes starting at 7.5%. Fees start at 2.5 up to 80% purchase. Rehab costs may be added. That's what we only do 2 things. We only do 2 things. Quite frankly, we're extremely busy. 2 things. We do rental. We do rental financing for beginning and intermediate investors, and we do fix and flip financing for beginning and intermediate investors. Okay, we do not do fix and flip or rental for people that are doing massive volumes. They're doing millions of dollars a month, where that's not our guy. We focus on the beginning to intermediate with some exposure to the industry, which probably, with due respect, is most people in this room. Okay, I doubt there's people in here sitting with a $20 million portfolio in rental housing. We don't focus on that. We focus on the beginning and intermediate level investor. We typically do 1 to 3 deals per person. It's about our maximum. This is a deal analyzer. These are the inputs up here. You put in your address, you put in what you bought it for, you put in your rehab budget, you know, the interest rate on the loan you're going to choose, the origination points, estimated after repaired value, and the property taxes, and a few other things, and your real estate commission. You put those down, and then it populates. And then it'll give you your profit down here. And it'll show you all your costs based on California normal, okay, California normal title and escrow, California normal property tax, etc. We'll calculate everything right here and show you how much money you're going to make. I can't really read it, but I think this property, I think you said your students are using this. Is that right or no?
Very possibly are.
I thought you'd said that. I wasn't sure. You can come see us at our booth. You can talk to us. There's 3 of us out there. Our in-house CPA's there. Our controller, Tom, is there. He's our business development guy. We have applications, information package. We're welcome to pick one up. Get a coupon, first loan program flyers are there too. And you can go to our website for more information. Thank you for listening. I see 6 people sleeping in the back. Are there any questions about rehab or buy and hold rent? Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them. Absolutely. Guy in the back in the gray shirt.
How do you?
Sure.
You had your hand up first. Go ahead.
No, I'm just, on that last property you showed in
Yes.
Sacramento, what was how much below median price was that purchased at?
You know, this guy got it for about, what do we say there? I mean, you can figure it out. 30 to 40% under retail market.
So he was able to do that?
Yeah, he was able to do that. Our in-house, you know, to be quite frank with you, our in-house division, because we move so much product, we move on a lesser profit margin. We'll purchase up to about 80% of our in-house, but we move a property every 72 hours. Now we buy a higher rate. We do less to the property and we turn it quicker than our investors. These investors, our average investor out there usually finds it on the MLS, it's usually a short sale, distressed asset, or something like that. They're finding the MLS, they get a bit better discount. Okay, so the average. You see, you have to understand the average differs a little bit because we pay more, but we're buying properties that need a little bit less. You know, this guy's going to stick in $45,000. I have a property in San Rafael. We're trying to work the deal over the weekend here. He bought it for $865. It needs about $100,000. It's a 1950 property, and it's worth about 1.3. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit all over the way. It's not a simple thing because it depends on how much work it needs and the area too. If it's in a quick area that's going to turn like this, well, I might pay a little bit more. If it's a little bit more of a dicey area, I might pay a little bit less. You had a question, sir?
Yes. How do you find your sellers? I mean, what do you do in the case of a week to find sellers in different areas?
You mean when you're done with your product?
Well, to begin, you know, for the rehab or the hold.
You mean to source them, to buy them?
I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
how do we find
To
our sellers?
locate those properties.
Sure. How do we find our sellers who we're going to sell to?
Yes.
100% of them are through the MLS. Multiple listing service. We are also a brokerage. Okay, we're also a broker. You know, if you're not a broker, then you would have to list it with a broker. But 100% of ours are listed through the multiple listing service to the consumer public, and that's where they're sold. Every single one of them. Our properties, if you went to zincrealty.net, I'm going to write that down, you can see some of our product that's actually out there now. Zincrealty.net, sorry, zincrealty.com. Zincrealty.com is our in-house properties, probably 6 or 7, 8 listed right now, probably about 40 going right now at some phase. But all of our product typically sells in about a week, maybe 2, and it's all done through the MLS. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question because I noticed that one of the last investor's clip that you showed, he replaced the windows, and you're talking about not wanting anything that requires any permits, or
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
That does require permits.
It does require permits.
Yeah.
And you know what? To be very candid with you, it's a little bit of a gray field. I would say that we do stuff to properties, to be very candid with you, probably on a routine basis that needs a permit at some point. A window does need a permit. There are some other things that need a permit. We do that anyway without a permit.
Right.
Okay, a water heater needs a permit.
Okay.
We don't pull a permit
Toilet
in-house.
permit,
None of my investors pull a permit for a water heater. None of them pull it for, that's a really good question. None of them pull it for windows, even though you're supposed to.
And for retro windows, though, you don't need a permit in most communities.
But what we do pull permits is anything that I consider that's anything significant. Roofing, pool,
Right.
HVAC, anything that is more major, we're not going to risk that, and we're going to go pull a permit for. So I really look for my investors to stay out of stuff like my LA person that's in big trouble right now. you know, they're doing room additions and foundation and roof. Well, you're going to pull it to bid, and that's a real problem. Windows, my windows are done in a day. It's a $2,200 job. You know, we don't pull permits for that. Yes?
Do you have a special disclosure, like when you sell it, that there's going to be like a dot split, you know what I mean?
Do we have a disclosure that we sell when we do it? We do not have any disclosures when we sell it.
I mean, because you're telling them you bought it as a foreclosure, you're going to live in the property, you have like a generic one?
We do not have a generic one.
Okay.
We usually put on our California Association of Realtors, you know, recent investor rehab, sold as is, whereas. We are very, very strict in our company about making sure that the people that bought our properties are taken care of, whether it was our fault or not. We want an absolutely impeccable name out there. So if they, you know, we had 3 months ago, bought a house, 3 months later they're calling us the dishwasher leaks. You know, $500, go rip the whole thing out, give them a brand new dishwasher, and then send them a gift card for a restaurant at Applebee's. We want these people to be exceptionally happy because we get a bad reputation, both as a lender and as a reseller. That's horrible. So we want to you know, make them happy. And I'll tell you, out of the millions and tens of millions we've done, very, very few issues. So we don't have a disclosure, but we're very, very aggressive about taking care of it if something goes wrong with the property, whether or not it's our fault. Another question back in the back?
Do you have a maximum value of properties in California to lend?
We'll go up to $1 million, but the properties we look for are below the median cost of housing. Okay, so whatever the median, for those of you who don't know, median in a certain area is what 50% of the property sold above and below. That creates the median cost of housing for the area. That's different in San Francisco than down here. For instance, the San Rafael deal we're doing, it's in a very, 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 very specialized area of San Rafael. The median cost of housing in that area is $1.2 million. Okay, believe it or not, kind of like Palo Alto. So this property we're trying to get done this weekend is $860,000. It's below the median cost of housing. I would never do $860,000 in Fresno or Garden Grove. You know, Garden Grove, the median cost of housing is probably, I'm guessing, $270,000 or $280,000. So we want to stay below that number. So yes, there is a maximum. It depends on the urban setting for where the property is located, and we'll stay below the median cost of housing because going above becomes, quite frankly, very difficult, problematic to resell. Yes?
What's your target minimum gross profit for yourselves and for your clients? Or
Sure.
The difference between your resale price and your purchase plus rehab?
The gross profit for us internally, we actually don't look at a per gross profit per property because that's going to vary according to the monetary outlay. So we look for a return on investment or a cash on cash. Because if I'm going to stick $865,000 out there, you know, we don't want to make $30,000. We're going to have to make 3 times that because of the volume of capital outlay versus maybe $125,000. So we don't look at it as gross dollars. We look at it as a
gross
return.
percentage.
Yeah, our minimum, okay, internally for us is we shoot for 28% minimum annualized return on investment. So if we bought that property and we sold it within 6 months, you know, half of 28 would be we look for a 14% cash on cash return on the investment. If that makes any sense to you guys.
Yep.
But the money is deployed out there. We want to see a minimum of 28%. You know, we're lucky 32, 34 on our own in-house. I would say our investors, a lot of them, they don't get into the return on investment. They just say, look, I need to make $30,000, and they stick with a very, you know, they're willing to do a $200,000 house. They want to make $30,000, you know, $25,000, 35, 40, that type of situation. My Palo Alto guys, I got some Berkeley guys, they want to make 50 to 100, but they have to put more out. So, it just kind of depends. Yes?
Could you talk more about, you were talking about the communication with the borrower and your default policy. You said you have a writer?
Yes, we have a rider to our deed of trust. What that means is there's an addendum that's attached to the deed of trust and filed with the county recorder, and it's, quite frankly, very aggressive. And if it's in the go in default, we have default interest that's 28%. There's also default fees and things of that nature. Very, very rarely do we initialize that unless the borrower has become non-communicative to us.
And what does that mean to you?
Non-communicative, absolutely. From time to time, every borrower will have an issue, okay? There's a permit that somehow took too long. They had a contractor that walked off the job, okay? It fell out of escrow twice. The last thing we want to do is penalize the borrower. We want to work with them, okay? We'll extend the loan, we'll charge a nominal extension fee, we'll extend it, we'll help them, we'll say, you know, get this and this done within the next 30 days, and then we'll work with you. We try everything we can to try to accommodate their hardship, okay? And so long as they're communicative with us and letting us know what they are doing to solve the problem and being genuine with us, I don't think there's ever been a time where we've stuck somebody into a default, okay, and charged them excessively or default interest as a result of them working through the problem. Where the problem comes in is when they're in default, they're at maturity, they've had problems, and we've left 3 messages. Usually that's done by my staff, the third one's by me, and I let them know very clearly in that phone line that if you do not return our call, you will not like the outcome, and they typically don't like the outcome. Very rare do we get to that point, but that's when somebody's not calling. I want to be clear, they're not calling us back, they're not communicating. What are we supposed to do? So, but again, it's a communication issue. If they're communicating with us, I'd say 15% of our borrowers run into some kind of problem, and we work with them on that problem at all times. Does that help?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. It's 1, 2, 3, they haven't called you back. Right.
Well, it's not.
It's not 3 strikes you're out, but.
Let me, it's not as though we just called them 3 times for just, there's a serious problem that they're aware of and that we're aware of. There is a problem, and they are now becoming absent on us. We both know there's a major problem. We've already had some dialogue, and now all of a sudden the phone's going quiet. That's where it's an issue. It's not as though I called them in the middle of the loan term 3 times and they were, no. You know, look, you're past maturity, you've missed a payment, you're not even done with the rehab, we've sent you 2 letters, you've called us, you don't even have a plan, now we're calling you over and over and over again, and there's no response. We're at that point, we're going, okay, we have to start, pulling in the reins to get our money back. But very rare, very rare. I would say last year, I think we have 1. The lady in Los Angeles right now, just to be very quick, and I'll try to wrap this up. The lady in Los Angeles, she's in deep trouble. She way too much to the property. They're over a year, and they're not even done with one of the rehabs. She's probably got another 3 months. They are in way over their heads. And I told them not to, $120,000 is just too much. She's probably got another 3 to 6 months. She's very communicative. We're working with her. We're extending the loan. We're trying to help her. Absolutely. There's no chance of the borrower getting into default fees or default interest because we're communicating. We're working with each other. Yes?
For your own properties, what's your most successful resource for finding them these days? Wholesalers or?
Our is, I'd say about 90% is the trustee sales.
Courthouse steps?
Pardon?
On courthouse steps?
On the courthouse steps. We go down there every day with about $500,000 in cash, and we buy ours directly. Literally. That's what we do. Most of our investors do not do that. They buy it in MLS or short sales, or they have a connection with a real estate agent. That's probably their source. They're a little bit smaller than us. We can't do that because it takes a little more time. We have to move stuff quickly, and so we buy them directly from the banks.
Did you say you operate in California only?
California, Arizona. We are now working with our legal team. We are actually approved for 8 other states, and they'll be rolling out here in the next 60 days. States that I think we're going into Ohio, Indiana, Texas, a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head. So right now it's Arizona and California.
So you'll start seeing different regulations for different permits.
Correct. Some other questions that I can help you with, and then yes, please go ahead.
Really quickly, is the investor paying you every month, or are you waiting until the end of the sale?
The points and fees are not capitalized. They have to make monthly interest payments. Yes, they do have to make monthly payments. And that's a good thing for us, quite frankly. Our competitors that we know down in Southern California, they also require monthly payments. Quite frankly, it's a good way to, the investor is reminded that they have an obligation. Okay, keeps them on their toes. It's a good way for us to diagnose a problem relatively quickly. And at the month of maturity, they're missing a payment. We already know we're into a problem. We try to reach out to them and solve it, move quickly. Any other questions? More? If you have some other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. I'm in the booth out here. Zink Financial just outside the doorway. Hey, thanks so much. Best of luck of all of you guys of doing your, whether it's us or another lender or whatever else. If I can answer any questions, feel free to give us a call or talk to me out here. But I wish you guys lots of luck in the real estate investment arena. Last question.
Where's your main office located?
We are located in Clovis, which is Fresno, California, right in the middle of California. I'd say about 80% of our work, believe it or not, is Southern California and a little bit in Northern. We are very, very heavy southern and central, very heavy on the central coast, okay? I happen to have a place over there, so I'm very familiar with that. We got several going to Pismo. Got 2 going right now in Pismo, very heavy on the central coast because I just happen to be over there because of the second home, and Southern California. 80% of our work is done outside the Central Valley. Anything else?
Down here, huh?